Hello everyone, it's Rafael Gutierrez. Welcome to my channel. Today I was going to talk about something else, which was about the chess, and I decided to change it just because of what I see happening in the US right now. There have been a lot of really messed up things and a lot of different things that people have said, which really show a lack of understanding of what's going on. One of the first things that I will mention is there were actually some people who had made a comment about a police killing someone is not as bad as someone burning a store down. Now, I don't think there's anyone who's going to argue with you and tell you that, hey, burning a store down is good. Nobody's going to tell you that. I'm sure there probably might be one person, but most normal people will say burning, rioting, not a good thing. But you can't put property damage and vandalism on the same side as you would put a murder. I mean, you think about it. One is property. Things can be rebuilt. When someone is killed, you're not just killing that person, but you're killing a future. You're affecting not just that person, but all the people who are related to that person. You're actually you're not killing, but you're affecting the children. You've taken a father away from kids. You're taking a husband away from a wife. You're taking a child away from their parents. When you burn a building, yes, it's bad. Things have to be rebuilt. If there's a business in there, it's going to have to go under for a little bit and wait for insurance to cover the cost of rebuilding and the time that the business isn't going to be working. And yes, there is an inconvenience, but think of the difference between a store burning down versus a family member dying. Now, there's actually another step that people see who say things like, oh, well, it's just as bad, or it's, the death of someone is, the burning of a store is just as bad as a police killing someone, especially someone who's under arrest. And that is this. Police actually have a level of power that other people do not. For instance, let's say I'm getting wrongfully arrested. My only choice, my only legal repercussion of being wrongfully arrested is to sit back, let them arrest me, and maybe I can sue. Maybe. If I die, they can't even do that. So, that's actually it. If I'm getting wrongfully arrested and I fight back, police actually can hurt me more, and they're within their rights. What that means is the level of power police has tends to be a lot more than an individual, even if it's a criminal who's burning down a building. The police has the power of the city, the state, the country behind them. They're actually representing everything behind them. Now, I know that a lot of people are, well, we have to protect our police. And yes, the police do need our support in a lot of times, especially when we realize that every time a disgusting cop does something like that, good cops actually suffer. I mean, I remember not too long ago there was a cop who was killed after another cop killed some child, and this cop was supposedly a good person, and it was people trying to get back at police. Yes, we shouldn't clump all the cops as good or bad. There are good people, there are bad people, but cops have to actually be held at a higher standard. And one of the things we find as we read about two of the cops already is that they had a history of abuse. They had a history of abusing power, and nobody in that police department did anything about it. And I want you to think about that when I talk about the other things that happen. Now, I'm going to tell you something about me. My family is originally from Nicaragua. I was the first generation born in the US. And as a Latino, I have actually had experienced some racism. Nowhere near as bad as what some people I know who are African American have gone through. I've never been detained for no reason. I've never been followed by a cop just because of the color of my skin. But there have been things that happen. I remember when I was, I think, 7th grade. So I must have been 12 years old. We were at a restaurant, me and my family, speaking Spanish. And someone came up to me, and it felt like they came right at my face here and started yelling, "You're in America, speak English, motherfucker, speak English." That was when, like I said, I must have been 12 or 13 years old. 11 or 12 years old. I was in high school when I was 13, so it would have been sooner. Now, when that happened, nobody did anything. What ended up happening after that is these people returned to their table, had their dinner. We actually paid for our dinner and left. We took everything to go. The manager of the restaurant didn't do anything. None of the clientele did anything. People heard it because this guy yelled at me. So pretty much people allowed some random person to yell at an 11-year-old kid, speak English, motherfucker, English. Now, that's the world we live in. That's where we are right now. If you look at channels, you'll see people doing this. You'll see people calling police on people for speaking Spanish. You'll see people calling the police on someone because they're African American and having a picnic. This is where we are. And like I said, I have never suffered as much as some of the other people, especially not as much as Mr. Floyd and his family, who actually did get murdered by police. Now, some people say, well, it wasn't just white police. One of them was Asian. It doesn't matter. There were police who killed someone. And again, two of them had already had charges, had already been investigated for this stuff. There's no reason why these people should have been cops. So what I do want to talk about, though, is what happened. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I've heard really, really stupid people making comments. For instance, like I said, there was actually a news guy who said, oh, well, the person who's burning a store is worse than a cop who killed someone. If you're that stupid to believe that, well, hey, more power to you, right? But let's be honest, if you're rational, you probably can say, no, that comment is completely off. Even, again, I'm saying rioting, burning is not a good thing. It is a bad thing. But let's get back to what we see here. Now, I actually did find that there were two autopsy reports. And on the surface, it looks like there's something different. But when you actually pay attention to it, they actually are both saying the same thing. So the independent autopsy report, I got it on here so I could read it, said that Mr. Floyd died of asphyxiation from sustained pressure. The medical examiner said the cause of death is cardiopulmonary arrest complicating a law enforcement subdural restraint and neck compression. I'm going to tell you right now, both of them are saying the same thing. Pretty much because of what the cops did, this person died. Now, we did read someone who said, well, he wouldn't have died if he was otherwise healthy. First of all, that doesn't matter. He died because of what the police did. Second, I'm going to actually show you that today, that even if he was healthy, there was a big chance that he would have died. Think about it. He was actually held in a certain place for 10 minutes. And not just that. If you watch the videos, you'll notice that they actually had him handcuffed. They put him in the back of the car in one place. Then they pull him out from the other door. And then they put him on the floor and put their knee on their neck. Now, anyone who's actually done CPR knows that what they did could kill someone. There's no other way to look at it. You know this. The cops are first responders. They knew that what they were doing could kill someone. And they did it anyways. All four of them. That's like, I know right now they're saying two. All four of them, and I actually would think the entire department should actually be investigated. Now, I'm going to start with this. First, when you look at the video, you'll notice that his head was pushed to the side and down. And so his trachea is right here. And the knee was resting right on the neck here. This is a drawing of the trachea. This area here. It's made out of hyaline cartilage and connective tissue. And if you do press on it, just gently put your hand and press a little, and you'll notice that it changes your breathing. It actually constricts your breathing. Now, if you look at the video, you'll notice that these cops were not small people. They were big. But I'm going to actually play as if they were a typical 150-pound person. And I want you to imagine someone turning your head and putting your knee on your neck for 10 minutes with all their weight, 150 pounds going straight on your neck. Now think about how that is going to affect your breathing. Your airway is actually compromised, so it affects your breathing. In CPR, you'll actually talk about ABCs. So that airway for 10 minutes is enough to cause damage in the other areas of respiratory, but that's not all. There was more. So we have one thing that could potentially cause death, even if he was otherwise healthy. Let's go into the chest cavity, which I'm going to talk about more next week. And I want you to think of what I told you last time. When you breathe in, your chest comes up. When you breathe out, it comes down. you need that for normal respiration. Now, this gentleman, Floyd, was actually laid chest down on the pavement with one guy pressing on his neck and the other two pressing on his chest and lower back. What that means is this was compressed. Now, again, remember, ABCs, this actually compromises breathing. This pressure on the chest will actually make it harder to breathe. And we're not even adding the trachea being actually compressed as well. So he's actually going to be having a difficult time breathing for 10 minutes. But that's not all. See, the one thing that happens is right behind this bone here, the sternum, you have the heart. And when the heart is actually, when the chest is being compressed, it actually does put a little pressure on the heart. And that pressure can end up causing certain problems. One of them is the veins can't drain blood as readily into the heart. By the way, if you end up having veins unable to drain into the heart properly, it ends up leading to cardiac failure, which is, by the way, what both autopsies were saying he died of. So they are pressing on his chest, not allowing the blood to return to his heart. So we have airway compromise, we have breathing compromise, and we have venous return compromise. 3 causes of death just in that one incident. But we're not done. The other thing that this does is it actually decreases cardiac output. That means that the heart cannot pump the blood out that it needs to allow normal blood to go everywhere, especially to the vital organs, including the heart. So again, now we have another 4th reason how this gentleman was killed. Putting pressure on it can cause that, which actually matches both of the autopsy reports. He died from cardiovascular complications because of how the police were actually holding him. But that's not all. I figure 4 is enough. But let's go to the next thing that can end up happening. When you actually have a pressure on the chest for prolonged periods of time, it can end up causing decreased blood supply to the brain, so much that it can actually start shutting down the brain. And those of you who know anything about CPR, if you shut down the brain, you can actually shut down all the other systems. So you now have actually another cause of death. Now, one of the big things that I actually want to mention with this is this. Riots, yes, they're bad. Nobody's going to argue with that. Well, I'm sure, again, maybe there's someone who will. I personally believe all riots, all violence is horrible. But what we have is when people are dealing with this, we have riots happening, criminals causing crime. On the other side, we have police. People are sworn to obey, follow, and protect the law, causing crime, causing death. And there's so many questions that I don't understand why. For instance, one of the things I actually noticed is in one of the videos, they had Mr. Floyd in the police car. They had him in the back. They had him handcuffed. And yet someone felt they needed to open the other door to pull him out so they could put him on the floor and do something that they knew was dangerous. There's no way a first responder does not know that what they did could kill someone, especially when it's held for more than 5 minutes. I have been kind of frustrated with what I've been seeing. I live in San Diego, and there's actually been there have been riots and people losing property. And there's actually been another case that happened about the same time that Mr. Floyd died here. And it was a gentleman a cop actually opened his hand and struck him across the neck with an open hand like this. It can affect the trachea. And this gentleman was apparently arrested for resisting arrest, which I don't know why he was arrested, because, okay, he was resisting arrest when there was no reason for him to be arrested in, again, La Mesa. And one of the things we're seeing that for some reason we have bad cops acting up, and there are not many good cops who are actually standing up to this. They're allowing this stuff to happen. Like I said, the two of the people who killed Mr. Floyd, and it's all 4 of them who killed him, they had already been investigated for pretty much abuse, and yet no cop has actually done anything about this. I don't know if you agree with me or not. It really doesn't matter. I'm just saying what I see. This right here, there's no arguing what I said. Both autopsy reports said he died of cardiovascular complications, and I can actually show you how these cardiovascular complications can occur. I hope you have a nice day. I hope you keep safe, and I hope you found something of this useful. Thank you.